Hey, friend, have you been feeling overwhelmed and frustrated from all of the crazy things that's happening on right now in our world? It seems like we just cannot catch a break. I don't know about you, but it felt like 2020 was the pandemic, and since then, it has literally been one thing after another. And 2025 has been one thing after another, from natural disasters in bizarre places that you would least expect to have such natural disasters, from so many recent reports of airplane incidents and crashes to the threat of impending wars, political instability, a new government with every day you turn on the news, there's a new order coming from President Trump's desk, right? You just cannot even keep up. It's like bam, bam, bam. So, how do we deal with this uncertainty? How do we deal with this uncertainty? So, the word that God gave me over a year ago was remain calm in chaos. And if you had asked me about this concept 5 years ago, I would have said that's ridiculous. That's crazy. There's no normal person who is emotionally intelligent who's going to be able to remain calm in the midst of chaos and uncertainty. And like God does, he sometimes uses people as examples. And so I want to share you a story, basically a transformation story, my own personal testimony of how God brought me from anxious to calm, anxious to 24/7 inner peace. And I'm sharing this because he's instructed me to share this, but then also because I want to show you what's possible and to give you something to strive for if you're someone who has been dealing with feeling anxious, tense, uncertain, angry, frustrated, all of these feelings at whatever is going on in your life. It could be you're dealing with something personally, or it can be the things that's happening in our country, in the US, around the world. You know, if you're in Bermuda, I have a lot of people that follow me from Bermuda, as that's where I'm from originally. So wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, this is for the person who is dealing with feeling on edge, feeling anxious, feeling tense, and they want to know how they can feel a level of peace, unshakable inner peace that no matter what happens, they feel calm, their faith is unshakable, and they feel peace. So, what had happened was back in 2020, I remember at that time I was working as a hospitalist and life was going pretty good until the pandemic hit. And I remember it was declared a pandemic, I believe it was March 10th. And it literally turned my world upside down. From working on the front lines in the hospital to trying to manage a virus that's new. There was no data for it, no diagnostic tools. In the beginning, there wasn't even a COVID test available, or the test that they had was taking weeks to come back. So it wasn't practical for us to order that on patients that were in the hospital because by the time we got it back, they were discharged. There were no treatment protocols. So it was just like we were just guessing and trying to figure things out as we go. That was very, very stressful. I had also been dealing with some issues with my house, and then friendships seemed to kind of shake up around that same time, not being able to travel. So it was really, 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 really stressful. That probably was the most stressful time of my life, really. And I remember I had a conversation with someone, a friend who's also a Christian, and they said something to me that at the time really made me say, "What are you talking about?" They said that Christians should be calm and at peace with what's going on with the pandemic because our faith and our trust has to be in God, because he will take care of us, he will provide for us. And you know how it is when someone's kind of like checking you, because they're checking you because like I was anxious and they were basically saying that you shouldn't be anxious. I didn't really appreciate it. I thought it wasn't really good timing. I was like, um, can you empathize? Right. And I still do think that the approach could have been better. However, fast forward to like a year, was it 3 years later? Yeah, 3 years later, I had a situation where I had come down with a mysterious illness, which baffled doctors and myself, and it was very difficult to treat. And there was a period when I did have to take a medical leave of absence. So during that period, when I was at home, healing, recovering, resting, spending a lot of time in quiet and solitude, I remember one day I was laying on my couch and all of a sudden I felt like the presence of the Lord in the room. I had never felt that before. I don't even know how to explain it, but it just felt like I had an encounter with God. And immediately in that moment, I felt a sudden wave of peace come over you. It felt like how when you feel something physically, like, so there were physical manifestations of this feeling. Um, and I just felt God's peace wrap around me like a blanket. Like if you give a person who's cold and shivering a blanket and they're like warm and they feel safe and calm like that, that's basically how it felt. Whereas prior to that, I was wondering how I would heal, how I would get better, how I would get back to work, what I would do, whether I could do anything meaningful, even like being on the computer, because that was difficult at that time. And so I remember that day, that moment that was so immediate, so transformative, where God's peace enveloped me, circled around me, and I felt the presence of God in that room that day. And then I heard the voice of God spoke to me and said, "Now tell people how my peace gave you calm in the midst of your uncertainty." And I'm recording this video separately so that this can be easily identifiable on my YouTube channel when people are scrolling back, because I've shared this story in other videos, other webinars, and different things that I've done. But this video is just about this encounter with the person who needs to hear it. And so you may be trying a lot of different things to reduce stress, to feel peace, to feel calm, but true inner peace that's lasting, that doesn't fluctuate, whether you're having a good day or a bad day, that can only come from God. It cannot come from anything that we can do. There are a lot of things that we can do to reduce stress, to help us feel calm, which are good, self care, meditation, exercise. There are a lot of stress reduction strategies, listening to music, being out in nature, speaking with a friend who's providing support. These things are all great, but really true inner peace comes from God and it's lasting. Because if your peace is not in God, what happens is that when you're having a good season, you'll feel calm and you'll feel peace. But then when there's a challenge that you're going through or a trial, you'll be losing your cool. You'll be irritated, mad at God, begging for Him to take the problem away, to take the trial away. Man, you never know. God may have actually sent that trial to you to stretch your character, to develop you, or to draw you closer to Him. And so I just wanted to share with you my story of someone who had a period of feeling anxious around the pandemic. And at different seasons in my life, I did feel anxious. Like in medical school, sometimes when the exams would come up, I felt anxious. I don't have a history of anxiety or anything like that, but there are certain seasons when certain things are going on, I would feel really anxious, have problems sleeping and stuff like that. But when the season passes, I don't feel that anxiety anymore. But ever since that day happened with feeling like what I would describe as an encounter with God, where I felt His peace, I had not felt that anxiety since. And there have been challenges since that moment. There's challenges now. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. I think my old self, my previous self, will be really anxious, irritated with what's going on politically, with the natural disasters, airplane situations, and just everything that's going on. However, I can definitely testify and say that God's peace is lasting. It's independent of what's going on with you. And there have been so many things that have happened actually since that day that normally I would be losing sleep about, I would be stressed out about, I would be anxious about. I mean, one day I'll get to share and talk about those things, but it's not that time. But I haven't felt that anxiety when those situations arose. It was just like chill. And so when God showed me this, I was like, wow, this is crazy. So it is possible to be calm in the midst of chaos, to have peace in the midst of the storm. And He brought me to the story of Jesus and the storm in the boat with the disciples when they were crossing the sea. And the storm arose, and the disciples were worried and stressed out. And Jesus was sleeping, and they woke him up aggressively anxious, like, Jesus, what are you doing? How are you able to sleep? And Jesus woke up and was like, What is wrong with you people? Why are you stressing? It's going to be fine. And then he calmed the waves and the storm stopped. I think about that and apply that analogy to our lives. We all go through storms from different seasons. And that's undeniable. You cannot prevent it. You cannot stop trials and challenges from happening. It's just a part of being in this sinful world. So it would benefit us to learn how to seek God, seek His face, and ask for His peace to come upon us so that we can better handle, better manage trials, especially as we get closer to end times, the last days, and Christ's second coming. Whatever's going to happen down the pipeline, my concern is that a lot of people in the body of Christ are not ready, seeing how people are losing their peace over what's happening now. And so my um, passion and desire is to inspire you to really take a look at your life and where you are. How resilient are you? How much are you able to handle being uncomfortable? I think that's going to be a key trait that we should be developing that'll help us to better able to withstand that time, to be able to withstand being uncomfortable. And when I say that, I mean like think about the daily comforts that you have being taken away. Maybe not being able to buy and sell food, maybe not being able to buy and sell leisurely things, or maybe not being able to go on vacations like you do now. Things like that is what I think about. And so this is a time that we should be really preparing. So I really just wanted to share this story. Hopefully this inspires somebody. I don't know who this is for, but it is possible to have peace that's lasting. And when you experience it, it's undeniable. It completely changes you and you can't even look back. And it's so amazing. And I want that for you. I want that for all of you. And so that is my prayer and my hope that the body of Christ has more resiliency, has a peace of God that passes all understanding, whereby when people see you going through a storm, a situation, you're calm, at peace, you're not going off on somebody, getting angry, frustrated, like losing your cool. But people are looking at you like, wow, how are you able to maintain your composure? You're good. You're still able to, do what you got to do and everything like that. That's what I want. That's what I want for people to be able to look at my life and see the evidence of God working and moving. And so that's the story about that transformation. And yeah, again, it was sudden, it was immediate, and I couldn't even believe it. I was like, oh my goodness, wow. And I remember back in 2020 when that person told me that, I was upset with them actually. So we um there were other things going on, but we stopped being friends after that. So that person I'm not even speaking to right now, um, just the season had ended for that friendship. Sometimes friendships end, but they did teach me a valuable lesson. And when God, that day that I told you when I had that encounter with God, it was like, remember when that person told you XYZ and you are not happy? And yeah, well, now I want you to show people how it's possible to be calm in the midst of chaos, to be calm in the midst of um, uncertainty. So that's what happened. All right. Thank you for watching the video. Like, subscribe. If this was beneficial inspiration to you, make sure you watch this next video here. So, and share this video with someone who you know needs to hear this. All right. I will see you later.